All right, super excited to be here, coming all the way from Charleston, South Carolina, so I don't know if anybody is familiar with Charleston on the East Coast, but it's a beautiful city. It's certainly no Seattle, but very excited to be here. I was introduced to Troy Kirby. I want to thank him and his team for having me out here. I was introduced to Troy not too long ago, and he was talking to me about this conference, and just very, very excited to be here. So I'm just going to go ahead and hop right into it. The visuals we're going to be quite an experience, but unfortunately we can't have that today. So bear with me on that. And so yeah, I'll just go into it. So my name is Eli Dent. I'm a former Division I soccer player. Played soccer for 20 years, and so transitioning from the sports side of the industry to the business side of the industry has been certainly a really fun experience for me. And like I said earlier, I got introduced to Troy Kirby through my buddy Nico Hammer over here, and Nikolai and I played together on a semi-professional team in Statesboro, Georgia a few years ago. So we've definitely got some history there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I want to talk about trends really quickly here. So a few of you will probably remember SNL in the 90s. But actually, in 1930, a trend started, and SNL really picked it back up, and then it became kind of a mainstream phenomenon. And it really comes back to high-waisted denim jeans, right? So, or we came to know them as mom jeans. And so, in high school, a lot of my attractive female classmates would start wearing their old mom's jeans, and it was just becoming this new fad. And none of my buddies were really all that excited about it, but it became a thing, and sure enough, down the line, it was now popular, and people love it, and that's a new look. And so that taught me a couple things in high school. One, that trends can repeat themselves, and they often do, even if sometimes we don't necessarily like that. And so, but so why do I talk about that necessarily? If we flash back to 5th century China, a trend started, and it centered around this mechanism of keeping a heavily weighted shuttlecock in the air, using all parts of your body except for your hands. So it's very similar to soccer in that respect. And so it started. Its first reason was for in the military use. So Chinese generals would have their troops kick and keep up this thing in the air as an exercise to de-stress and also just get some aerobic exercise, right? And so over the next 1,000 years, this shuttlecock concept kind of spread out through Asia and got different modalities, different modifications were changed to it, different names, and different cultures kind of had their own spin. Well, after that, it kind of died off, and this trend just kind of barely kept alive over the course of generations through the older generations that enjoyed kicking it around and sharing that experience. So flash forward from that to about 8 years ago, where I kind of cut my entrepreneurial teeth with a hacky sack venture. Being a soccer player, you'll kind of see that trend coming through this. But I was kicking around a hacky sack with all my friends in high school, and every single day, without fail, for 3 years, we kicked around a hacky sack. And at one point, I kind of looked around and I was like, man, I'm the only soccer player in this circle. Like, none of these people kicked the hacky sack around. I mean, none of them played soccer. And I was just like, that's incredible to me, because when I'm looking at kind of the grand scheme of the United States, soccer is not this #1 sport yet, right? Like, it's kind of on this trend of going up, but it's not really a #1 sport. And I was thinking, this could be an avenue of connecting with everybody else that doesn't really play soccer. And so I ran home and I was like, man, this is it. Like, I've got the next biggest marketing play I've ever seen, and it's going to be soccer in your pocket. And that's what a hacky sack was to me. And so I jumped in. I spent all of my summer savings from previous jobs and manufactured 1,000 hacky sacks with the University of South Carolina's soccer program logo on them. So I licensed that because at the time I was recruited to go play at the University of South Carolina. I spent 2 years playing there, and I went into it and I was like, okay, I'm going to use my likeness and my status as a student athlete, as a soccer player, to sell hacky sacks. And I thought it was going to be, it's going to be great. And I show up at USC and they say, no, you can't do that. The NCAA, it's illegal to do that unless the NCAA is making money off of you. You can't make any money. So that was a lesson learned, and I was like, okay, well, how can I pivot around that? So under the radar I go for the next 2 years, trying to talk to people about this hacky sack and show them without wearing my USC stuff or being anywhere close to that. And I kept hitting this wall of, I'm not coordinated enough, it's difficult, I didn't ever play soccer, and so, but the whole bubble was like, it's too hard for people, right? Hacky sack was too hard. And so, on my last-ditch effort of like breathing life back into this venture, I met with this licensing guy. I was like, please give me like 5 minutes of your time. Let me just show you what I'm doing and get your spin on it. Somebody that knows licensing, distribution, sales, and so he gave me 5 minutes of time. It ended up being an hour. And towards the end of this conversation, he was starting to recall this thing that he experienced when he went to China. He went to the Beijing Olympics, and he said that there's 50 people kicking this crazy thing around, and it looked super easy. So immediately I go, okay, 50 people kicking this thing, super easy. Like, what is this thing? Like, you gotta tell me what this is. And so he starts to describe it, you can't really, it's kind of fuzzy, and he goes through and he says, yeah, it had this little tail on it, and I was like, okay, a tail, like, I can't even visualize, like, what does that even mean? And then he goes, no, it had feathers on it. And I was like, immediately he said feathers, I was like, all right, like, either this guy's just, like, off the rocker, or, like, I don't know what he's talking about, this is crazy, thank you so much for your time. You know, I kind of just go back home and go back to normal, and I'm like, man, like, I don't know what to do about this. So then I was like, okay, maybe I didn't give that enough credit. Let me dive into this a little bit. So I kind of start researching, and I find this thing, and it just is incredibly, I would never expect it to work. And it's these little circles of people all over Asia that kick this thing around, and it's like, it flies super high, and it looks super easy, and it's like these uncoordinated, seemingly unathletic people kicking this thing around. And so I was like, okay, like, there's maybe something here, and I got as many different kinds as I could find from all over Asia, and all these different kinds, and I brought them together, and I was like, you know, immediately I kicked it, and it was easy, right? It was easy, you didn't have to put so much pressure on it, and it would fly really high. So that seems like something that could work. But the one thing that I found was a little bit frustrating about the product, the ones that I was finding, was that they were all like kind of trinkety and very small, and that made it difficult to kick, but also it was hard to predict. And if one thing that I've learned from being an athlete is mastery is a huge motivating factor. It's a huge pillar of motivation across the board, but especially in athletics. If you can prove that you're getting better at something and you can get better at something, then you want to use that improved skill against your competitors and so forth. So mastery is a huge motivating factor, but I couldn't get any better at this thing I was kicking because it wasn't consistent. I couldn't get better at it. It was frustrating. And so I started tweaking it. I started understanding what was making it more consistent. And then I found this rubber piece, and so I started putting these together, right? And so now I'm getting better and I'm improving, and so I test out with my friends, and this is actually the kind of the tipping point, right? So I was recruited to go play for a semi-professional team in Statesboro, Georgia, with Nico, and so we played for this team, and it was this really great opportunity because it was their inaugural season, right? So it's the first time this team's coming out, they're trying to build a brand in this community, improve their space, their place in the marketing side of things. And so it was a really great opportunity for me to like really start to pitch this idea. But the crazy thing, which was just like, all right, this is too perfect not to jump on the opportunity, the team's logo and the mascot is an ibis, which is a local bird for the area, okay? So feathers actually make sense in this context. I'm like, okay, like, maybe this won't seem as crazy to these owners if I go and show them this. And so I drafted the designs, I put the logo on it, I said, this could be the Tormenta FC Sidekik. And this will change the way that your fans look at your brand. And they were like, you know, once I showed them the concept and the feathers, they were a little taken back, naturally, you know, and they were kind of like, this is really, you know, kind of weird, and I think that they just saw me like just like super passionate about like this has to work, like this idea has to, like it has legs, I know it does, and they just said go for it. And so, you know, so we had a whole batch of sidekicks, Tormenta FC sidekicks manufactured and come over, and in 3 months of being in Statesboro, Georgia, which if anybody knows anything about Statesboro, Georgia, it is a no soccer town. Like forever, it's just always been a football throwing town. So there's no soccer culture. It's a new organization coming in, and so we're bringing this completely new product, and it was like almost in a lot of ways the perfect case study because of that context that there's no soccer culture. For us to sell a unique product, driving soccer and driving sales and driving fans back to games, like kids were literally coming to these games every single time just because they wanted to kick a sidekick with some of the players, which was really, really cool to see. And so that whole experience of, can we prove this product, period? Can we prove it in a challenging place like Statesboro, Georgia? Yes. Then this can maybe work anywhere, right? So I go back home to Charleston, South Carolina, where I'm from, and in South Carolina there's one professional soccer team. Some of you might not be able to relate. Hey, there we go! Yes! The Charleston Battery, I love it. Yeah, black and yellow, exactly. So that's exactly right. So there's one professional soccer team in South Carolina, and it's the Charleston Battery. And so after seeing Tormenta and it succeed there, I was like, this has to work here. So I go in and I pitch it to him. I'm like, you know, if you want fans to change, if you want to change the conversation that your fans are having around your brand and interacting with your brand, then this is kind of the way that we can do it, right? And so I showed them the packet, and they said, you know what? Let's go for it. And so we immediately jump into licensing with them, and we order a bunch, and we go to their stadium, and we sell at every single game. We're always there, and these kids are like eating this up, right? And right about that same time, we actually get into our first retail stores. So along the way, kind of these new channels are opening up. And we get into this only soccer store in Charleston, South Carolina, Lloyd's Soccer. And they have 3 stores. There's one in Greenville, one in Atlanta. And so Charleston's kind of their main hub. And I walked in there and I showed them the product and I said, yeah, you know, we're talking to Charleston Battery, we got it into there. And they said, you know what, like, let's get 30 of these right now. And I was like, wow, okay, like, that was really easy. Like, yeah, like, let's try it out, come on, let's put it in store. And so for the next 6 months, they're regularly selling out, reordering and reordering and reordering. And so I'm like, wow, this is really cool. This is something that I can even sell without having to demonstrate it, which is unique. And so that's kind of a side story, and I'll come back to that. But the overall picture so far is that, okay, we've gotten a semi-professional team, we've now gotten a professional team, and since all of that, we've been able to lock in other professional organizations like the Richmond Kickers, which is in Richmond, Virginia, Twin City Union FC, which is a semi-professional soccer team in Washington State here. And all of that exposure has given us kind of this trickle-down effect of, now we can affect the youth programs. Now we can get into these youth clubs and these youth organizations and show these kids how to develop their skills in a totally new and fun way, right? And early on, it's not necessarily about bettering yourself as much as it is about having fun and a good experience with the sport. And so now we're able to connect with these kids that, you know, they haven't really enjoyed maybe the training and like their coach that's making them kick a soccer ball around, but now this thing has feathers on it and they're like immediately like, what is this? I want to kick it, I want to try it. And so we're creating this new connection. And so the Sidekik, we're 3 years into developing it right now, and I'm going to give you guys a quick demonstration to kind of show you exactly how it works. But kind of before I go further, yeah, I guess I'll just go and give you a demonstration. So it works a similar way. I don't know if you guys have seen the bottle flip challenge. I don't know if you can hear me all right. You guys can hear. I'm sure you can hear me all right. But the bottle flip challenge, like the water bottle, right? So it's a water bottle half full, and you just flip it and the lens. You know, it was this huge internet viral phenomenon, and the whole thing was just the physics behind, like, if you can toss it with the perfect amount of momentum, and it lands perfectly on the right side. So it's self-righting itself every single time. And so that experience is like, I mean, so this is a funny meme that I was hoping to show you guys, but it's like this guy puts. He's literally on a stage, like in a high school, and there's just a table and a seat there. I think it's like the talent show. And he brings up a water bottle and flips it, and the whole cafeteria just erupts. Like everybody's like, ah, they're freaking out, right? It's the most simple thing in the world, but it's so satisfying and motivating to see that. And so that's exactly what the Sidekik gives you. Is this? So you drop it and you kick it and you flip it just like that. And there's tons and tons of tricks that you can do with it, and I'll show you guys that. I'm excited to show you guys that as we go. But that's exactly the concept, is it self-rights itself, which is really fun for kids. And it just grabs your attention, right? These feathers, when you see it flipping, I mean, you could be like 20 feet away, and you see it flipping, and you're like, what is that? And that's attention, right? And now we have a chance to have that conversation. So a little bit more backstory on kind of who I am. Like I said, my name is Eli Dent. I'm a former Division I soccer player. I played semi-professional soccer, and all of that has, so I was ranked 17th in the country for my position. I was recruited to go to really prestigious Division I soccer programs, and finished my career not too long ago with the College of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina. And through that experience, I've also coached at soccer camps all across the country. And Seattle has a special, really special place in my heart, specifically because I played for the Seattle Sounders PDL team not too long ago, and it was just a really fun experience to just be immersed in this kind of soccer culture that we are so void of on the East Coast. So to be able to see that and just be back here is truly awesome. And so I guess I'll kind of start kind of with the story of Sidekik again, in that a year into our process of making the Sidekik work and getting sales and engaging fans and engaging youth players, we were invited to come present internationally, which was really, really cool. And so we went to, in Scandinavia specifically, so Sweden, Finland, and Estonia, and that's where we kind of were pitching to investors. It wasn't necessarily that we were seeking money, but it was that we were trying to build partnerships with these European clubs and try to get some traction over there. And we got so much great feedback, and one of the conversations that we had was actually in the middle of a pitch. We were doing a Q&A, and this guy kind of cut me off of answering this other question. He said, well, how much money do you need? And I was like, well, you know, I don't really know. I mean, you know, $50,000 could push us to the edge and we could really get this thing rolling. And he said, okay, well, I'll give you $50,000 for like 25%. And I was like, okay, well, 25% is really, anyway, the valuation in itself wasn't a focus of ours, but it was interesting to kind of hear that and then kind of go back and say, wow, maybe there is something here. I mean, this guy's valuing us after only a year in at almost $250,000, and like maybe there's something here that maybe we should get money. And so we come back to Charleston, and then we go up and down the East Coast pitching to investors and presenting. And in one panel, these judges actually were there, and this guy said, this sounds really great. You're engaging with fans, you're engaging with kids, but like, does this actually help kids improve their skills? Like, are you actually providing value on that side of things other than this new fun novelty item that these kids are having a good time with? And at the time I'm thinking, well, obviously as a soccer player, juggling a soccer ball makes you better because you're spending more time with it, you're understanding the ball and your foot, and anybody that's good at soccer typically has some decent skills when it comes to juggling. But he was right, like there wasn't really any actual data we were going off of. So I was like, well, let's dive into the research. What is actually out there right now? So there was a couple studies that were done, and one of the studies is translating soccer juggling to in-game activities, right? Is there a positive transfer of skill from juggling a soccer ball to a soccer skill that you would use in a game? And the one common component that can be found is just controlling the ball. So when you're juggling it, you're controlling it. When you're reading and coming out of the air, you're controlling it. And so in the game, that happens all the time. You're controlling the ball, your first touch. And so this one study showed that players that juggled stringently over the next 6 to 12 weeks compared to players that did not juggle and trained had a 23% increase in their skill and ability to control the ball than the players that didn't train with it. So perfect, right? So juggling does in fact improve your skills in soccer. But then it's like, okay, well the Sidekik is like smaller than a soccer ball. So the Sidekik is actually, the surface area Sidekik is 78% smaller than a regulation-sized soccer ball. So is there any evidence out there that shows training with a smaller device, which makes it more difficult, actually improves your skills better? Like, is it more effective at training you and improving your skills? And so we found a study that there's mini soccer balls all over the place. You'll find them anywhere. But it's these mini soccer balls designed to help you juggle, right? And then there's regulation-sized soccer balls. And so these two separate studies, there were kids out juggling with a small soccer ball and a big soccer ball. And so they set it up in such a way that 6 weeks was training with a small ball, and then after that you did a test, and then you rested for like 3 weeks, and then you did the same test. So that tests your retention rate. Like, yes, you improved, but can you hold on to that skill? And they did the same thing with a large soccer ball. And the study showed that they pretty much were identical. Both groups improved greatly and compared to their control group that didn't train at all, right, and then did the same test. So the one thing that really showed me was, regardless of whether you're training with some kind of different apparatus or if you're training with a soccer ball, like, you're going to improve. There is no substitute for hard work, right? If you're consistently showing up and you're working on your skills, you're going to get better. So as much as I would like to say, like, this is the shortcut to success, there really isn't one, right? It's just all about, like, how often, how much do you work and how consistently do you show up. So the Sidekik specifically, right, the feathers slow it down in the air and the rubber base gives it the extra bounce. And all that's designed to maximize your soccer juggling ability. So it's slower and extra bounce. It's a lot easier for kids to read it. It just becomes a rhythm, right? So let's back up and look at kind of what exists in the market right now. What are fans engaging with? What is that typical fan experience looking like? Because our target market right now is these soccer brands, these soccer clubs, these professional organizations. So let's take the Seattle Sounders, for instance. And this is in 2016, so things have probably changed. I haven't been there since then. But let's say you buy a season ticket, right? They're on sale, so you get a discount. You save some money, you get a season ticket, you're set. Well, the Seattle Sounders, unlike most organizations, will also send you something else. Thank you so much for joining and being a part of us. Here's a scarf, right? So now you can affiliate with your favorite team. That's awesome. Most clubs don't actually do anything like that. It's just like, here's a pass and show up to the games. So Seattle Sounders is kind of an anomaly in that. But okay, so you get your scarf, you're like, awesome, so you show up at the stadium, and then you start walking around and you're like, oh, I want to check out what's in the pro shop. And you'll see there's like jerseys, there's hats, there's scarves, there's sunglasses, there's whistles, and these are all great products, and there's a huge place in the market for these types of products. There's two things in common that these products have. For one, every single soccer organization in the world has the same products, just with different colors, which is great. Like, there's a place for that. But they're all the same, right? Every single organization has them. And then another thing that you can find that has a common thread between all the products is they're passive. So you put it on, you wear it, and that's it. That's all you do with it. I think for us to sell the rest of the United States on soccer being the #1 sport, we have to elicit active fan engagement. We have to be able to be pulling our fans in, have the conversation about the brand and about the colors, and having a great experience, and to flip the script on that. So that's what the Sidekik's designed to do, is specifically that. And then you'll find, okay, so the Sidekik is an active product. We just addressed the passive products. What are the other active products? Obviously a soccer ball, right? So a soccer ball is like our #1 competitor, okay? But like, we're never going to replace a soccer ball. I love it too much, I would never want to do that anyway. But it is an interesting conundrum when you consider what are the differences between a soccer ball and a Sidekik specifically. And parents, this is a huge feature for them. So like myself and a lot of my teammates, and I'm sure a lot of you, like with your kids or with your friends that have kids or with your friends that played soccer, juggling a ball in the house is extremely dangerous. You don't want to do that. You'll break something inevitably. It's going to break something. I've broken many things. My mom has PTSD, I'm sure, from all the things that I broke or almost broke in the house. Even having a soccer ball in the house, the temptation of it was too great for her. So in all the 3 years that we've been doing this, never once have I ever broken anything in the house. One thing that's even better than that is none of our customers have ever broken anything else. In fact, that's one of the biggest selling features for a lot of these parents is that, like one testimonial we got was that this mom bought her kid her nephew a Sidekik for Christmas, and he was juggling in the house for 4 hours and did not break anything, and she was like so ecstatic. She blew up all of our social media and our website about it, which is really, really fun to see. So it doesn't break anything in the house. We're engaging with these fans. We're connecting. I didn't bring a Charleston Battery Sidekik with us here, but I do have the green and blue one, so you can kind of visualize Seattle Sounders there. But so now we have these kids that come to the games, right? And they love the Sidekik. They kick it around for like the whole game. They don't even go watch the soccer game, which is like kind of a bummer. But they just love the Sidekik so much, right? And then they go home and they take that with them, and their mom is like happy because they're not breaking in the house, and it's a win-win-win-win, right? Which is really cool to see. And so that's like these are these micro successes and these micro like little scenarios where it's just really working on the East Coast for us. But the grand scheme of soccer in the world is that there's almost 4 billion fans, which is like almost half of the world's population. And then in the U.S., there's like less than a quarter of the population in the U.S. like actually actively follows soccer, which is a bummer because I understand soccer, I love it, and I want everybody else to love it. But it's also a huge opportunity for us. Like, how can we change everyone's perception about soccer? Most people just don't understand it. They think it's too difficult. There's not enough goals. Let's give them something that they can experience the feeling of soccer with. And that's where the Sidekik comes in. It teaches you timing because you have to wait for the Sidekik to flip over. It teaches you composure, so you strike it at the right moment. And then also, I'll show you really quickly, is you'll get a feeling of the rhythm. There's a rhythm to it. Just like in a soccer game, if you ask any soccer player that's played in a game and had like their best game ever, and you talk to them about the ebbing and the flowing and where the game sped up and where it slowed down, and if you really feel that, it's just such an incredible experience. And that's something that's been driving me this whole time on giving that back to everybody else. My parents weren't soccer players, my brother wasn't a soccer player, my family wasn't, but they sacrificed all this for me to play soccer. And so if I could give them a little piece of what I've been feeling this whole time and show them what I've been, then that's going to be huge for me and also I think for everybody else. So in my presentation, I've got this huge map of the United States, right? And we've got all these retail stores kind of all over the place. So in the past 3 years, we've gone from 0 to 50 retail stores all over the U.S., and I'm going to talk about that experience really quickly. So like I mentioned earlier, we started with Lloyd's Soccer Shop, which is this one soccer shop, and they had tremendous success. And they're part of actually a larger soccer organization called SASR, which are soccer-specific retail stores. And so they always have a conference like once a year, and it's always in like LA or Texas or Las Vegas or New York. And it just so happened that this year that they were booming with Sidekiks, and they just got introduced to Sidekicks, that they were going to have the conference in Charleston. And so the owner goes, hey, like, all of our partners are coming, do you want to come and present to us? And I was like, yeah, of course, I would love to do that. And at the time, the only time slot they had was a 30-minute gap in between my final exams for one of my last semesters in college, and I was like, are you serious? Like, I'm going to be going from exam to presenting to exam, like, I don't know if I can do this. So I come in and I'm like sweating bullets, and I'm like a minute late to the presentation. And it's this tight little hotel room that's really, really long. So there's like this huge, like, boardroom table, like a little bit longer than this one, and there's retail store owners wrapped around it, and there's like 25 owners in it. And I've got this like 3-foot gap where like I have to demonstrate the product, and the screen is behind me where I'm showing the product in videos. And so like 3 minutes into my presentation, I demo it, and this guy like kind of stops me and he says, can we order these? And I was like, yeah, of course. And he's like, well, how? And I was like, well, here's the order sheets right here. And he's like, well, can you pass them around, please? And I was like, okay, yeah. So I start passing them around, and then they start looking at the numbers and they start realizing, oh my God, this is amazing. Like their margins are huge on these. And every single one of them, like all 25 of them, stood up and lined up in the line behind me holding their credit cards out. And I was like, this is incredible, like this is amazing. And so I stocked out for like 4 months, which is awesome. We haven't stocked out since, so we've got that figured out. But it was just a really great experience to see that and see that grow. So we talked about the data, we talked about the Sidekik going into retail stores, but I kind of want to talk about in this pitch, the focus was player development and also kind of nudging American soccer culture into this new age of technology. And so the Sidekik is a physical device a lot of kids these days are on their phones or on their screens, and this is a huge problem. Like parents are like, I want you to be active and get exercise and be outside and enjoy the world, not like wrapped up on YouTube or social media or your iPad. And so how can we connect this world of digital play with physical play and active play? And this is kind of this like big thing that, and this is the wave that's coming, right, is the Internet of Things. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's simply something, a device, an everyday device that connects to your phone and gives you data. And so what we're doing with the Sidekik is we've actually created a prototype, and I've got this big image that I could be showing, but the projector's not here, of what that prototype looks like. And so about a little less than a year ago, we created a prototype with a juggling counter. And I know it sounds very simple, but you can do so many things with a juggling counter when it comes to competing with each other, keeping track of your progress. Juggling in soccer is one of the few quantifiable ways of measuring your success, right? If you can't quantify something and measure it, then how are you expected to grow? And so, and that's the same with business, right? So we created this juggling counter, the MVP, the prototype. It works, it's successful, and so now we're working on an app, which I'm really, really excited about. And so all of that has been, kind of quicker in development. We've really been hitting the roadmap, the road with that, and so as I mentioned earlier with the studies, right, of working through consistently to get better is like, how do we drive kids consistently to get better on this through the Sidekik? How are we going to can we connect these two worlds and provide this training mechanism that's consistent for them? And a big thing that actually came out, I don't know if you guys are on Snapchat. The Snapchat rolled out this feature, gosh, it was probably 2 years ago, and it was a streak. And so if we communicated in one day and then we communicated the next day, now we've got a streak of 2 days in a row. How many days in a row can we keep going, right? And so all these people built, like my friends have like 500 days in a row with this one friend, right? And if this one friend did not respond and broke the streak, it was like the end of the, like, I'm so pissed at you, like we did all this, and it was like, it's ridiculous. Like we were just communicating. This wasn't about like meeting a metric, but people get so wrapped up in streaks. And so that's like such a critical thing when it comes to, I think, when it comes to merging this digital play to this physical world, is can we gamify it in a way that kids can relate to and keeps them in a way that progresses them and makes them better, right? It makes them better at what they want to be better at. So we created this streak feature, and we're working on this app, and it's just been a really, really fun journey so far. I'm trying to go through these. I had tons of videos that I wanted to show you guys, but unfortunately that's not the case. Yeah, I mean that's essentially it. At this point, we've done, like I said, we've done the Charleston Battery. We're also moving into camps, soccer camps. So number one soccer camps used to be literally the number one soccer camp in the U.S. Not too long ago. Well, probably closer to 10 years ago. But now they're still a very successful franchise. They have successful franchises. So we're moving into that model as well. So we're going with soccer camps, soccer teams, and we're also online, and we do affiliate marketing as well. So for a lot of youth camps, we just locked a deal with with a Chicago camp called Olympic Soccer Academy in Illinois, and they wanted to just connect with their parents. They didn't want to upload any or upfront any costs to buy the Sidekiks in bulk and customize them. They just said, can we forward everybody to your website and have all our kids do it, and we create this whole training mechanism, and now we're just making profit from it. We're not having to upfront any costs. So that's been one way we've been able to engage kind of smaller clubs that don't have a huge budget. But my ultimate goal is to go from not just these professional organizations and their youth clubs, but to go to these leagues. So the USL as a league, every single USL team, Charleston Battery soccer team, every single USL team needs this in their stadium. It's like the vuvuzela, like the big horns that people keep like blowing and making all this noise in the stadiums. I truly believe that Sidekik is the key to changing that and to becoming more of a conversation that let's build active engagement with our fans and not just this passive that we've always done for centuries. And so that's where I believe that the future of American soccer culture is moving towards and needs, is that we need something different. And that's what the Sidekik is. So from the Battery in the USL to the MLS is our next goal, and then after that to the largest leagues in the world. And I did just want to mention one thing. So after about 2.5 years of being into this venture, I did a presentation in Charleston, and there was a lot of sports marketers there, and one of the guys is like really interested. So we kept conversations over the next few months, and it turns out that he was in international business in Europe, doing lots of importing and exporting of goods, and built a lot of really good relationships in Europe. And one of his colleagues was actually a buyer for Real Madrid, which is insane because Real Madrid is one of the most successful soccer franchises in the world. And And so he, was talking to his guy that was a buyer, and he's like, I want to show him the Sidekik. He asked me, he's like, Eli, can I show him the Sidekik? I was like, I don't know, like it makes me kind of anxious. Like, what if the Real Madrid says, oh, this is great, and then they just like do it all themselves and they throw me out of the market, and now I'm screwed. It would still be really cool if that happened, but I would want to be a part of that, right? And so I was like, I'm a little anxious about it. Well, he's like, let me just, let me see if I can wiggle it in and just test the water a little bit. So I was like, okay, like don't send him a product, like send him a picture, get him a video, like see what he says. And this guy was like ecstatic from Real Madrid. He was like, have him come over and present, like we need to have this conversation now, like I want this to be in Real Madrid colors in this whole stadium. And so I was like, man, like, are you serious? Like I was like lined up, I was like, Real Madrid, like this is nuts. And then the guy was like, yeah, but hold on a second, like what's your intellectual property on this? Because Real Madrid could totally just go around you and do their own thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, okay, let's say like, so to be clear, there's a patent pending on this, especially with the modified version of it, but we were in the market too long to have patented this exact mechanism. So technically Real Madrid could go around and just do it themselves. But I was like, yeah, but at the same time, like, say I got a patent on it, Real Madrid and Vengeance, like, what am I going to fight Real Madrid that has like these billions and billions of dollars? And so anyway, we created there's a non-circumvent contract to go back around that, so that we could do that and license it without having to necessarily front, all that money. And still there's always a risk of losing the idea, right? But that's the direction we want to go in. We want to go from the USL to the MLS, but maybe we can just leapfrog it all and go to Real Madrid, who knows. But that is the Sidekik in a nutshell, and I would like to just kind of open the floor at this point for any questions or comments. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. It's been really fun. Thank you. And there's tons of videos, so if you guys want to check out the videos, I've got business cards as well on our website. It's called thesidekik.com, and it's spelled Sidekik is K-I-K, so without the C. And you can do bulk orders or just single orders, or they make great gifts for kids, especially around the holiday season. They're great stocking stuffers. So, and they retail for $12.99, yeah. So, thanks so much.
Do you have any plans to like go on Shark Tank or anything like that?
Yeah, so actually that's been a lot of the feedback we get when we go to events and sell it and demonstrate it. Like pretty much every single event we've been to, people are like, oh, like you should go on Shark Tank. So, so we do have plans. We've got the application and we're working through it. So, so if that's the case, you've seen us here first, and that would be awesome. Yeah.
You're very enthusiastic, so I think it would play well.
Thank you so much.
In that form, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see Mark Cuban being interested.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, right? The sports guy, yeah, we gotta get him.
Yeah, he's gotta have some soccer interests.
And even if he doesn't, he's missing out on the biggest marketing opportunity, right? Like soccer's huge, so.
Yeah. Tell him to think big world, not just here.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so we have Sidekiks for everybody, so hopefully you'll grab one on your way out as well.
There you go.
Can I grab a business card?
Yes, please.
Yeah, these are great. I actually stumbled on some similar in China.
Yeah.
When I was there, it had little symbols at the end, and it was shorter.
Right.
But it was just crazy that you're here in this. I didn't even know this was going to be here. But
Yeah.
we work for MWR for the Navy around all the bases in the region. So we have 3 huge Navy bases here. I first thought of our bars. Our bars are suffering. And talking with some younger sailors, they're almost like, what do you do in a bar? Like, I am on my phone. And, they're not really there to meet girls or guys, really, because you work with them. But yeah, I'm going to pitch this to my FP&E team for the bar for sure.
Awesome.
And then,
could definitely pick it up.
yeah,
It's a
these
dream
are
of mine.
awesome. Yeah, and nothing gets broken unless you're pine glass, pretty far away.
Yeah.
It's on yeah, I could totally see these in like hospitals and
Oh, totally.
children hospitals, just, when they're at that rehab state where they just need to get active a little bit.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That's an idea. But yeah, super excited to meet you.
Yeah,
I was in
yeah.
Charleston for 2 years, so
No way.
I was in the wrong room, came in, and then sat down, and he brought up the battery.
Yeah,
so
perfect timing.
that was so awesome.
Thank you.
We went to all the battery games,
Nice.
and all the people around us, were diehards.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah, really cool. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
that.
Great
Yeah, of
presentation.
course.
Did I see yours?
Yes, of course.
I teach PE.
No
I
way.
was like,
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
those would be perfect
Yeah.
for PD.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh,
Oh,
dang.
nice.
Better than me.
That's better than, yeah, seriously. That's actually, oh my god, that's amazing. What? Okay, so to be honest,
Yeah.
most people that try it the first time get like maybe one. Like maybe
Oh.
one. And then two, like it's
I'm a
like
soccer
really
player,
Yeah,
so-
okay, I can tell. Yeah. Skills. Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really, really small school.
Yeah.
But I run soccer club after school.
Oh,
And
that's
we
awesome.
tried juggling with the mini balls last week.
Yeah.
There's stuff everywhere, but
Right.
they had fun. I will look at those.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
I do a lot of coaching as well, and so there's actually a school in Charleston that I come to and do kind of a soccer clinic with and stuff, and so it's really fun. Like when we get them in a group setting too. There's a couple of nuances about the Sidekik, especially in a group. Kids want to just like kick it at each other,
Launch it.
and so like it's okay because it doesn't hurt them, but it's also like to kick it when you're in a group, to kick it straight up in the air is a lot easier, right? Than if I was to like kind of beam it at you. And so once we do that, and the higher you kick it, the more time you have to get to it, obviously. But yeah, kids like, oh my gosh, like we do that every time, and they always like come rushing out like, where's the Sidekik? Where's the Sidekik? It's yeah, it's great. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You said you played in the PBL?
Yes.
Which team?
I played for a number of teams. So I played pretty much every summer, but I played for the Sounders, U23, and then I played for let's see, who else I played for? Mesa FC. I played for the Des Moines Menace, which is in Des Moines, Iowa, and S United Bantams in South Carolina.
Alright, so how long ago did you play for the Sounders?
How long ago was that?
Yeah, how long ago did you play for the Sounders for PEL?
That was my, let's see, how many years is that? That was in 2014, so 4 years.
4 years? Okay. I was gonna say, because I worked with Eugene, Lane United for a while.
No way!
Yeah.
Yeah, they beat us when we played them.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, I just remember playing against a lot of PDL things, and that's why I'm kind of here is to just see like what's the next step going forward.
Yeah.
So as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, who has the best touch in soccer?
Who has the best touch?
Yeah.
Probably Messi.
Okay. All right. What about you?
I mean, it's messy, but I mean, like, everyone.
What about Juan Mata? What about Ronaldinho?
Yeah. Oh, Ronaldinho's a legend.
Oh,
you
dirty.
can't. Yeah.
Sky Eye.
Right. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's actually a good point. Actually, you know what? He was really good recently. Is Marcelo
Mhm.
from Real Madrid.
Yeah.
His touch is pretty phenomenal.
He's silky.
He does some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
And he's a left back, which is crazy. So did you play, or did you just like, or you're around the sport?
I did, and then that's what damp on it or anything. I just got to that age where I was like, man, I kept getting like yellow, red, yellow.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to hit something. My dad's like, put a helmet on me, and I was like, all right, I like this a lot more.
Nice.
And then like, as I got older and older, and then like kept progressing through school, like all the studies started coming out. It was like brain trauma. I was like, why did I do that?
Dang, right.
But whatever.
Yeah, concussions and everything.
Yeah, so I mean, I still go play pickup. I go play on a co-ed team, all men's league, and it's just like hella fun. I live kind of by the University of Oregon, so it's like
Nice.
if they had pickup down there, I'll immediately go there and just see the floodlights on, just play all night.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 'cause it's just I don't know. It's you can never get too old to play.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, all right, I'm gonna check this out for sure.
Right.
That's sick though.
That's awesome. So are you from Oregon?
No, I'm from LA originally.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, then I moved up here, and then I was like, should I move back home? Oh no, it's too expensive, so then I just stayed up here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's for sure. What about, so you guys living up here, or you guys back on the East Coast?
No, I'm back on the East Coast still, yeah. So I'm trying to make a move actually out here. Whether it's Seattle, I don't know, but actually San Diego is probably where I'm going in the next 6-8 months. It's just, so like, I mean, all my family's on the East Coast, but for me, like, it's soccer, and there's just not enough there,
It's true. It's weird because I saw that they're trying to make a team down there for the NASL, I think, in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
I forget who's like leading the charge.
There was something about, I know Landon Donovan was trying to get behind something.
Yeah, I think it was Landon, and then there was someone from Europe. I honestly thought it was, I thought he played for Arsenal. Thierry Henry maybe?
Oh.
Or somebody like that as well, getting like behind it. And I was like, all right, cool.
That's
I'm down
cool.
for that. But like, it kind of just like, I'm tired of like all the sports people and like the owners of like NFL teams, no
Right.
offense.
Yeah.
Like just saying like, hey, let's make an MLS team. Why not? You know,
Yeah,
like, we
right.
have all the money in the world. Let's do it. It's like, no, let someone else do it.
Yeah.
Let them get rich.
Exactly.
You're already
right.
like,
Just put your money in a freaking multiplier right there.
yeah, it's like David Beckham. He's like, yeah, I'm putting a team in like one of the richest cities in the world. Like, why
Yeah.
not? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, what's up with him though, right? Like he was supposed to have some. He was supposed to be forming some team in Miami and just never.
Yeah, no, it's opening next season.
Miami FC.
Is it actually?
Yeah,
They're like
2020.
actually going for it.
But it's got, what is the full name? It's like
Oh,
Football
yeah.
Club de Miami FC. Something
Really?
like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird.
That's weird.
But I mean, it fits kind of the culture, I guess, on there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that's gonna be big. That's gonna be. Oh man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the Pacific Northwest is like a great market for that, especially like
Oh, yeah.
juggling and stuff. And indoors, it's rainy. You don't want your kid outside. Tracking mud in. Boom, you
Yeah.
got that.
Right?
Yeah, so it's like it makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely. I'm anxious to come up here and like go to an event and like demonstrate it and like get it out.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I feel like it just light up. I mean, it's on the East Coast at tournaments and events. It's like it takes like 2 or 3 hours, and then after that, it's like every kid has to have one.
Yeah.
And here, there's just so many more of them. You know?
Yeah. That's the thing too. It's like if you go to like universities too, and you're kind of like just juggling, like walking to class or something. Like some kids may see it, and like to like just increase your audience age range,
Right.
more or less. It's like because I see like guys that used to play hacky sack in college, and I'm like, oh okay, like you know I see them on the side, like they're probably what 19, 20, and so then it's like you know you're saying like oh they don't have any relationship with soccer, but then if you're going down with that thing, it's like oh okay like. What the heck is that? That's always landing perfect.
Right.
Versus hack sack, it's like, oh, great, now I have to go pick it up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, the hacky sack is like, and you know, after trying it for 2 years, like I thought for sure this is it, right?
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. And like the biggest difference honestly, between a hacky sack and the Sidekik too is that like a bag of beans, if you make bad contact with it, it'll just slide off the side of your foot.
Yeah.
But if you like make like bad contact with a Sidekik, it's got these rubber discs, and the rubber flexes, and it will still float up, even if it's like up in that direction. I can still get to it. Versus like a Sidekik, it just like falls to the side, and it's like,
Done.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
it's done. So
That's it.
yeah. But yeah, man, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it.